What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome back to the Nerdy Narrative. It is time for another monthly wrap up. We are flying through 2023. I don't know what is happening. Tell me if you feel the same. 2023 is zipping by. I'm just watching it go. Luckily, I did get in a lot of reading despite the fact that I had so many DNFs. It was a record month of DNFs for me. Let's talk about the things that I did read and what I thought about them. So, as usual, I did read one of Joan Didion's essays, nonfiction essays, out of the collection We Tell Ourselves Stories in Order to Live. I read one called, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Guaymas Sonora, and it was a snooze fest. It was just Joan and her husband and daughter deciding they were going to go to Mexico for a little vacation, and she decided to write a few lines about it. That's just how it is sometimes with Joan. They may be really, really good. Every once in a while I read one and I'm going, why? Why did we write this? Since I started with Joan's essay, let's keep going with the short stuff. I read and reviewed Jacob Stephen Moore's collection, Nightfall and Other Dangers. This one is now available for purchase. Absolutely recommend it. Even if you're not a full-time horror reader, that's not a genre you reach for. If you're someone who likes some little bite-sized horror to read around September, October, get you in the mood for spooky season, this one will absolutely satisfy that. And while you're going, grab Elle Stevenson's Candles, Bullets, and Dead Skin collection. Both of these were phenomenal. You're going to hear me talking about them. Both of these are authors I have read and reviewed on the channel before. I will have those linked in the cards for you to check out. Elle Stevenson is the author of The Goners, the Boatmore Butcher series, and Jacob Stephen Moore wrote The Unwelcome, and I've also talked about some short stories of his that I've read over the past couple of years. Both are authors I trust. Neither one of them have disappointed me yet of anything of theirs that I have read. I also read Out on a Limb by Luis Paredes. This book was so good. Well, I guess this is called a novella. It was one of the best afternoons I spent reading. This book was so fun. I cannot wait for more from this private occult investigative duo of Rebecca Suarez and Peyton Marks. Peyton is a bunny, by the way, a big old bunny. Super cute, even though she is snarky, sassy. These two private occult investigators are called in when NYPD finds a tree that has sprouted limbs. I mean, limbs of people, like feet, arms, legs. They bring these two in to investigate what happened and why. And the author had such an interesting way to explain how magic came into the world. Highly recommend. Cannot recommend that one enough. For reread, I knocked out a lot of Dresden. I reread Grave Peril, went right into Summer Night, and had to keep going with Death Mask. This is my favorite of the first 5 Dresden novels, hands down, and it's actually in my top 5 favorites of all of the novels in the series. This reread has been a success so far. I can't wait to keep going. I saw Jim mention on Twitter recently that he is working on the next book. Should have it written within 4 months' time. Then it'll go through editing and all of that fun stuff. I also got to read and review Ling Kyun by Ai Jiang. Fantastic horror novella. This is a haunted house story like none I have ever read before. There's so much more to it than just the haunted house or houses or neighborhood. However you want to look at it, there's so much more to it that you're just, how did this author put all of this in one story so short? And it works. I gotta buy a copy. That has to go in my collection. I have to own that. That was such an amazing story. That's an up and coming author you're gonna want to keep your eyes on. Right after I read and reviewed that novella, I followed the author on Twitter. All of a sudden, I just see her getting tagged in all of these awards and nominations. Earned. It is earned. Definitely check out author Ai Jiang. And another new author that I read and just, oh my gosh, Kareem Suleiman. He asked me a while back if I would read and review Army of the Curse, which was an SPFBO finalist in 2021, 2019. Doesn't matter. Recent years was a finalist or a semifinalist. Doesn't matter. I read that book, loved it, top tier read. It just made me feel so good. It was one of those books that brought me joy, where my face just hurt from smiling over how much I enjoyed everything that I was reading. I wrote a review, and when I went to paste it on Amazon, I saw that this second book was available with my Kindle Unlimited subscription, and I got it. I downloaded it. I started reading it immediately. So it was a good thing I had my review written for the first book, because I probably would have just blazed right through to the second book. And if there had been a third book out already, I would have read that one. I can't tell you the last time I read 2 books in the same series back to back like that. That just doesn't happen. I usually don't like to do that. I like to have a little bit of space between, prolong the enjoyment, because now I'm going to have to wait for book 3, which the author contacted me and said that he was going to let me read the arc for book 3 when that was ready, and I am stoked. Cannot wait. I think this is just going to be a trilogy, so it'll be the final book, and I'm just so excited. One that I finished right at the beginning of March, maybe on March 1st. It's a carryover from February, I think. Maybe? I don't remember. I know it looks like a chunker, but it reads super, super fast. Nomads of the Sea by Kobe Zucker. Underrated fantasy right here. I know the cover looks like it might be a romance novel. It's not. Oh man, how would I describe this one to you? Well, we have political machinations going on. We have people fighting over religion, beliefs. We have the nomad, which is what Sig here, who's featured on the cover. Sig is a nomad. They're tribes who live on the sea. But there are some of those tribes that kind of tied their boats up together, and they're near land. They have a few of their dwellings on land, and some of the other tribes, not fan. They want to go back to the old ways where they just floated around on the sea and moved around and worshiped their gods. And so they have started going through and finding any type of tribes that have any kind of land settlements. They're burning them. They're trying to force them back into their nomadic way of life. So 6 people, they want to put down the rebels. They call on the help of the kingdom that colonized them decades, maybe centuries. I don't remember how long it had been that they had been colonized. They call on them to send some soldiers to help. And this is that story. And it's so good. The magic system was so interesting. We learn about it slowly through one of the characters who comes along with the soldiers to help the nomads quash the rebellion. She's learning about it. She's very curious. She's a scholar, and that was how the readers learned about it. We learned about the nomads, their tribes, their culture. It's so good. I can't wait for book 2. However long it takes, Kobe, however long you need to get the next book in this series written, I will wait. I also had the highly anticipated new release by Michael Clark on my TBR, Hell on High. As much as I wanted this one to be a top tier read for me, because Michael Clark has written one of my favorite books of all time. My favorite haunted house story of all time was written by Michael Clark, Patience of a Dead Man. Just listening to how Michael talked about it, what he wrote in the foreword, I thought it was going to be centered around the Brazilian practice religion of Macumba. It's mentioned, nothing's ever really explained. There's just kind of things that happen, and you're told that people practice it. I didn't get enough of that to be able to tell you anything about it. Part of the story is one of the characters illegally crosses over onto United States soil, and that's also kind of glossed over, which I can understand. Michael Clark is a white man. He's writing about another culture's experience, but there is some details given, and there's things that happen to that character that they just get over really fast. Too fast, in my opinion. And the pacing of the book just didn't work for me, because years were passing with turning of a page, and all of a sudden we get to Mount Everest and 2 characters are climbing, and that takes a whole long time. For a 400-page book and you've got 250 chapters, like, the chapters were so short. It distracted me from the story, because once my brain decided these chapters are too short, we should have combined some of this, because some of them were the same point of view and the same character, but just a few hours had passed. I'm like, just do a little page break. And once my brain picked up on it, like, every page turn when it was a new chapter, my brain was going, oh my goodness. So that one just ended up being okay for me. And personally, I did not care for the ending. That does not mean that one of you won't like it. So if you like horror stories that take place outdoors and nature, with hiking, things like that, this one will be right up your alley. I also read the 4th book in Joseph Sale's Book of Thrice Dead series, Queen of Last Hope. I am just confused because I thought the last book, the 3rd book, Horsemen of the Apocalypse, was my favorite Joseph Sale book ever out of, 7 or 8 I've read now. And I was like, I hope the next one is just at least on the level. Just at least on the level. It doesn't have to be better, just at least on that level. It surpassed it a little bit. I don't know how he's doing this. And I can't wait to read the 5th one this month because I'm torn. I can't wait to read it, but I've got only 2 books left in this series. I'm not ready for the series to be over. This is one of those series that's almost life-changing. Like Stephen King's The Dark Tower. Anybody who's read and loved that series, you never forget that series. You never forget that first experience. You know, it's a series that you wish you could reread again for the first time. And when you get to the end, it's so brilliant that you immediately want to reread it again just to have that joy of, now that you know everything that's happening, you want to go back and reread it and see it from that viewpoint. Same thing here. Let's talk about Grady Hendrix' How to Sell a Haunted House. I have a checker pass with this author. It's no secret. This one started off, I almost DNF'd it. But something, just the right sentence placed here and there about the house is what kept me turning the pages, kept giving it a few more pages. That paid off. I loved it. I cried at the end, but the first 30%, I wanted to hurt people. There's 2 siblings, Mark and Louise, and they're fighting over the estate of their parents. That tells you in chapter 1, Mark calls Louise and tells her that their parents died in a car accident. These 2 never really got along, and now they're trying to deal with the dead parents' estate, and I wanted to kill them both, to be honest. I was like, okay, I hope this house really is haunted, and I hope whatever is in it kills both of them. You're going to have to read and find out for yourself what happens. I just loved it. Just loved it. I also finally got a chance to read the 2nd book in Wilbur Seymour's Kuiper series, Orion Citadel. I just love the character of Bob. I love this slow revelation, the depth of his character that's just getting revealed slowly through the story. Plus the story. Now the story of what's going on around Bob in space is great. It's very fast paced. It's energetic. It's got mystery. It's got murder. It's got mayhem. It's great. And it all happens in space. But me being that character-driven reader, when you write a character that just has so many layers like Bob, like if you first met Bob, you would think there is nothing to this guy except he is a dick. No. I just love it. And it sounds like the landscapers have arrived, so let's wrap this up really quick because they're going to get loud. They should have been here yesterday. Dang it, they came on my filming day. I also finished my reread of The Dragon Reborn. This is a read-along that's hosted by my friend Kate over at the Literary Apothecary. We did have a live show about this one. I'll have it linked down below if you want to check out our thoughts on reading this one. This is my 2nd favorite of the first 3. So if we did a ranking, it would be The Great Hunt, The Dragon Reborn, and The Eye of the World. But The Eye of the World is more about nostalgia than anything else. There's just a lot of mistakes that the author made as far as structure that put books 2 and 3 above it as far as just overall. But this one, we start digging into some of the other characters. They're given their story, sort of their revelation, and this whole group and this prophecy about the Dragon Reborn. I loved it. And now that the Weed Eater is literally right outside my window, I'm gonna wrap this up and say, even though the month of March started off pretty poorly and disappointingly for me, I did have a lot of other really great and surprising fantastic reads that more than made up for it. A lot of new authors I got to read this month and enjoy. Ones that I'm going to be reading more of, telling all of you about. Head down to the comments down below. Tell me what your favorite read was of March. Did you try any new authors that you're excited about? And let's let the landscapers finish their work. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.